welcome to the Beyond the Athlete podcast. And I'm very grateful to be joined by Plymouth's Joel Grant today. Joel, how you getting on?
Hi, how's it going, man? Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you.
how's it going? I mean, obviously, in this quarantine period, as you know, football for a while, almost 2 months now. How's things on your end?
Yeah, like you say, 2 months is a long time. It's a strange time. I think everyone's going through the same problems of something different, something new. Um, but things have been quite good. I'm trying to take the negatives and turn them into positives.
Mm.
Missing the football like everyone else, but I think be safe and healthy comes first. So
Of course. So have the club put you on a fitness regime in terms of like what you should be doing day to day, or like are you kind of just doing your own thing?
yeah, so initially we had schedules in plan. So even now, we're still sort of waiting for the EFL and sort of watching what's happening with the Premier League and so on. So initially we had schedules and we had some training plans. We had a few Zoom calls. But in more recent times, it's been a little bit more, ticking over for myself, and just making sure I'm staying as fit as possible, just in case we resume anytime soon.
Of course, and I see a lot of people posting their 5Ks. What's your PB?
Yeah, so I'm not a great long distance runner. I prefer the short, sharp running.
Mm.
But it was interesting because I remember when it started, everyone was doing their 5K. And I think for the first 5 weeks, I didn't leave my house.
Yeah,
I sort of been afraid to leave my house.
understandably.
Yeah, and just been following the guidelines best I can.
Mm.
Fortunately for me, I've had like a back garden and I've got quite a lot of fitness equipment at home.
Mm.
So I was able to sort of keep myself conditioned,
Mm.
but without running. So when I was seeing some of these 5K times come through, it made me think, what, I'm gonna need to leave soon because I could end up really far behind.
Yeah,
And some of the times look too good to be true. So
it's true.
it's crazy. But
It's
I'd
true.
say I'm averaging about 22 to 23 minutes
That's calm. That's good,
on a
man.
5K. But
Yeah.
again, there's players in our team who can really cruise through that.
It's
Uh,
amazing.
but again, like I said, I'm a bit more of a short, sharp, more of a
Mm.
sprinter than a long distance athlete.
Yeah, fair
Yeah.
enough. It's crazy because I mean during this period you've seen so much come out in the media about the return. First it was
Mhm.
about kind of pay cuts, and then even this week talking about new rules, and
Mhm.
it's crazy. I mean, the one that came out the other day about having to turn your head or turn away when you're tackling and stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
surely like if these things are in place, would you be thinking,
Yeah.
is it safe enough to do so? If because that's not football, is it?
Yeah, this is the thing, I don't want to be controversial or
Of
put
course.
myself in any trouble, but
Mm.
since day one, from when you're seeing so many deaths, that to me is a massive worry.
Mm.
And as much as I love football and football is my life, I've learned so much about life just through football.
Mm.
Um, and without football, I sometimes think, what would I have done?
Mm.
But there's more to life, including your health. If you're not alive, you can't do anything. So for
Exactly.
me, we got to put people's health and safety first, before sport. Like I say, without life, there's no sport.
Absolutely.
But yeah, like you mentioned, there's you hear a lot of rumors. It's hard to sort of find out which ones are true. Um, but like you say, if the rules are going to be changing so much, it does make you question why we would, try to force football recommencing.
Mm. No, I completely see where you're coming from, and it's even before before lockdown. I mean, you guys were doing quite well, weren't you? I mean,
Mm.
you're looking at the table, you're in third and in a good position, and you were in good form yourself, weren't you?
Yeah. Again, it's obviously it's tough because we put so much hard work and effort into a season, and sometimes many people don't see what happens behind closed doors. We had the new manager come in with new backroom staff, and the plans he put in place, from the start of the season to where we was just before the pandemic, it was shaping up so nicely.
Mm.
And I think every individual in our squad stuck to the plan. We believed in what, the management and his staff wanted to do. And it looked as if, we was heading in the right direction and sort of could almost see the finishing line.
Mm.
So it is tough, but like I say, health and safety is more important.
Mm.
And I'm sure if it's meant to be, it will be.
Absolutely. Okay, what we'll do, Joel, is we'll take you right back to the beginning, right
Yeah.
back to kind of where you started your kind of footballing journey, and we'll build from there. So, obviously, for yourself, born in London,
Yeah.
what was the beginning for you? How did you get into football in the first place?
Yeah, so I think from the age of maybe 5, 6,
Mm.
I was a massive football fan. Um, I joined a Sunday league team first. I remember I had a next door neighbor, who he was a massive Brazil fan.
Mm.
And he used to always watch Brazil, and sometimes I would go next door and watch. I think at the time he had access to the channels.
Mm.
I don't want to show my age here, but I don't particularly remember Sky, but
Yeah.
he would have had access to video cassettes and
Hmm.
stuff.
Hmm.
Um, and I just remember him being a massive fan of Brazil, Pele, and around those times people like Maradona.
Mm.
And my interest for football just grew.
Mm.
Around about 7 or 8, he took me to watch him play. He used to play sort of, yeah, back then it would have been sort of amateur
Mm.
level, but men's football.
Mm.
And it just kind of from there, I just wanted to play football.
Hmm.
I was very active when I was young, into all sports, but
Yeah.
football kind of stood out.
Yeah.
And I ended up joining the Sunday league team in Norfolk,
Mm.
so back
Really?
and around London.
What was the team called?
It's called Norfolk Villa.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know if they're still running, which is bad, but it was at the time it was called Norfolk Villa.
Yeah.
And from there I got scouted from Arsenal initially.
Hmm.
So I joined Arsenal around about 10, I think it was 10,
Hmm.
11. I joined Arsenal. They had like a School of Excellence program. And I joined Arsenal. I done sort of a year or two with Arsenal. And then something kind of changed. It's when I started to realize, football is not as easy as it seems.
Yeah.
um, so basically, we missed a year gap. So it went from under 12s to under 14s.
Mm.
So Arsenal at the time thought I was a little bit too small to make the jump to under 14s.
Mm.
And they sort of said to me, they would like me to stay within the School of Excellence maybe for a year. But I was advised at the time from the scout who brought me to Arsenal. He said, you're more than good enough to go and find an academy team. Maybe someone lesser than Arsenal, if you like. Which, I ended up going to Watford on a trial.
Mm.
And after, I think it was 2 training sessions, Watford were eager to sign me, which was nice. But like I said, I think that was the start of my journey in football.
Mm.
I realized it wasn't going to be plain sailing.
Yeah. No.
I
Absolutely.
realized that you had to sort of adapt to different styles, different managerial tactics, and so on from such a young age. But I'm glad it happened because from having that disappointment so early, it kind of set me in a position where I had to make a choice. You either really want to play football
Mm.
or you're just gonna sort of go through the motions with it.
No, absolutely.
Um, and I decided that I really wanted to play football. So from that day, I made a lot of sacrifices with friends and stuff. But in the long run, I'm happy because I think it led me down a straight and narrow path,
Mm.
which I'm grateful for.
And you mentioned the sacrifices, Joel. Like
Mhm.
what sacrifices did you have to make? I mean, obviously as a young person, as you mentioned your friends and stuff,
Yeah.
what sacrifices did you have to make kind of in order
So
to get to the next?
yeah. So as a teenager, you can imagine there's sort of parties,
Mm,
there's girls, you're sort of finding yourself
mm,
as a teenager,
mm,
and you're exploring loads of different things, So, being in London where I was from, some of the things that I would have seen and sort of come across wasn't all positive.
mm,
And at the time, I just knew that if I wanted to play football, I was gonna have to focus. And also, with Watford, again, I'm thankful to Watford. We used to so I remember I used to leave school early on a Tuesday evening, Tuesday afternoon, sorry, and I would attend training.
mm,
But there was things put in place. For example, if you was to get in trouble at school, the teachers would no longer say, I'm going to report this to your parents. It now became a case of this will go straight to Watford,
mm.
and the fear of sort of
Yeah.
Watford finding out if I've been naughty at school. That kind of just made me realize, what, while I'm in school, I'm just going to keep my head down,
Mm.
and I'm going to stay out of trouble. And to be honest, I was one of those kids who, sports kind of came before my lessons.
Mm.
I'll be honest, I wasn't, I wouldn't say I was a bad kid, but if it was sports or something active, then I was 100%. Whereas the classroom type work, I would easily get distracted,
Mm.
and sometimes be in the back having a chit chat and stuff. So but like I say, it helped me overall,
Mm.
stay out of trouble, which gave me the platform really.
Perfect. And in terms of like growing up, obviously, school years in particular, who are your main influences in terms of you, whether it's regards to football or school, or
Mm.
even just like your general kind of like mindset
Yeah,
as a young person? Who are the
yeah,
ones who really had kind of gave you that grounding? Could like so
yeah,
could be from parents, coaches,
yeah.
teachers. Who are the ones who really put that in stone?
I think family, first and foremost, my family, being from like Caribbean background, my mum came over here and had to work hard.
Mm,
So I think the family grounding that I had was good. I had my cousin who was sort of probably the one I would look up to in terms of football. He had reached a really high level, and I think he was on the verge of signing for West Ham.
mm,
And he actually had a knee injury, and he could never recover from the knee injury. He ended up pretty much having to retire early. And I remember he used to take me to the park and stuff. And it's not until I got older I realized that this is the thing with football. It's like I say, it's not plain sailing. There's things to worry about, such as injury, and one bad moment, it could kind of be it for you.
mm,
So initially, he was one I would look up to. In terms of players, I was a massive Ian Wright fan at the time,
mm.
and just his whole aura and everything about him just kind of made me like football. And his character, I think, was just seeing him play, it just made me want to follow and do that one day.
Did you support Arsenal as well?
Yeah, so I was actually an Arsenal fan, so it's I get a bit of stick for it now because even my wife, she says you
Yeah.
support anyone who's winning and stuff. But no, when I was young,
Mm,
I was definitely an Arsenal fan.
yeah.
I'm more of a neutral now.
Yeah.
If there's one team that I would go and watch, it would probably be Barcelona.
Yeah.
But again, I think that's more because of Messi.
Mm,
So I'm a little bit more of an individual fan. I like individual players and sort
mm,
of following individuals.
yeah.
But I'd say I'm a neutral. I haven't got a team at the moment.
Have you had a chance to see Messi in the flesh?
Yeah, so obviously with Jamaica we played Argentina,
Yeah.
so
Wow, what was that like?
yeah, that was unreal. But
Yeah.
got to meet Messi.
Mm,
You know, seen some unbelievable players.
mm,
So again, you know, even that opened a lot of doors for me.
mm.
But yeah, it's just like a football fan, really. Like sometimes you sort of looking and thinking, wow, you know, this guy's really achieved loads, and it's,
Mm.
you know, sometimes it's hard not to get stuck looking at that that person, you know, because at the
No,
end of
of
the day,
course.
you know, we both have arms, we both have legs, we're both
Mm,
athletes, you know, so
mm.
sometimes you almost have to pinch yourself and say, no, you know what, you're here, you
Yeah.
deserve to be
You've
here.
earned the right to be there.
Yeah,
Mm.
let's see how far off you are from these
No,
guys, you
of
know.
course. Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
when it comes to pay, you're a long way, but but you know, when it comes to actually playing and stuff,
Mm,
it's nice to be able to see
of
and
course.
almost learn from them what it
Mm,
takes to really be at the top.
mm. And in just kind of talking on a business side of things,
Mm.
obviously in school you're focused on kind of football, sports. Did business ever kind of cross your mind, or did you ever think, oh, you know, one day that's something that you might want to do?
Yeah, no, if I'm being honest with you, not really. I think, you know, and that's what I was saying just before, like, you know, it is a big loss not being able to play football because it's all I've ever known.
Mm,
And I've always had this thought of putting 100% effort in to making it as a footballer. And
mm,
to be fair, when I was young, my dad, he was a cricketer,
mm,
big fan of cricket. He wasn't so much the football. Um, and again, he kind of tried to push me down the cricket route, which in a way it helped because I was developing skills in different sports. And I feel like now I'm capable of playing most sports,
mm,
which is good. But he always said to me, and I remember I think it was at Arsenal where they were basically showing how many players make it, and
mm,
I think it was something small like 5% or something like that. Players actually make it to the professional level. And I remember my dad used to always say to me, you need to do this, you need to do that, you know, you need to study, you need to pick up your maths book.
mm,
And he was very much for school
mm,
and getting good grades and stuff like that. And I never forget, I always used to say to him, I'll be in that 5%.
mm,
And, you know, I think my dad's probably my biggest critique
mm.
when it comes to football. He's always the one who, uh, anything I'd done, it's not good enough, basically.
Yeah.
You know, it's never been good enough.
Mm,
But we had that mutual respect and that love where I could take what he's saying and not go the wrong way with it. You
mm.
know, I honestly think if some people had my dad, they would probably quit. You
Oh,
know, quit
really?
the game. You know,
Yeah.
he was hard, but at the
Mm,
same time,
mm,
I always knew he just wanted the best for me.
mm, mm.
But like I say, it just felt as I was growing up like what is the best because whatever I do, you know, he's not going to be happy
Just
kind of
wants
thing.
more, doesn't he? Just
Yeah,
wants more.
you know, but I'm glad because I always said to myself, I'm gonna make it. And as I got older, I think maybe I went over the top with it because
Mm,
I took my eye off looking outside of football.
mm,
And I think this is something that footballers in general do. You know, I very much feel we're taught to focus and dedicate ourselves to the sport, which is great.
mm,
You know, I think the problem then comes when if you face adversity or something negative happens where suddenly you can't play. I
mm,
think that's where the problem comes. And I think more and more each day we're seeing so many people suffer from, you know, mental health issues and so on.
mm,
And, you know, I feel sometimes that's down to not knowing or not being in the real world, if you like. You
mm,
know, you
mm.
sort of, you know, don't get me wrong, I'm grateful for the football life, but you know, it is probably a lot easier in terms of um, in terms of some of the other jobs in the world that
Mm.
there is, football is relatively, for me, it was a hobby,
Mm.
and it's still, I wouldn't say it's a hobby, it's become a job now, but
Mm.
it started from a hobby.
No, of
Whereas
course.
I know in the real world, sometimes you don't often get to do what you want to do.
100%. Of course, and also as well, it's a short career, isn't it? I mean, you say by the time you say what late 30s or so,
Yeah,
you're probably thinking, okay, what's next for me, kind of thing. So,
exactly.
as you mentioned, talk about your businesses, which we'll come on to in
Yeah.
shortly. Is that something that now players these days are more aware of, like in terms of it's a bubble, but we need to start thinking about tomorrow as well.
Yeah, I think it is something that players are more aware of.
Mm.
I couldn't answer, how many players sort of are aware of it, but then, sort of set something up or think of something in the future. I think, I couldn't answer for every individual, but
Mm.
certainly in my case, I would say, I sort of knew, from, like I said, my dad harping on and stuff. I knew from a young age, but it's something that I chose to ignore and
Mm.
sort of just kept chasing the dream of
Of course.
being a world class player and sort of playing at the highest heights. And I always said to myself, just keep working hard. Like your time will come. One day you'll get that break where, maybe financially now you can not have to worry about,
No, of course, yeah, absolutely. That's a dream,
after
isn't it?
football and so on. But
Mhm.
so I would say I think players are aware. It's just whether they are sort of clever enough, if you like, to look outside of football.
Mm.
And I feel often sometimes when you are in the football bubble, um, I feel you can get caught up with living a certain way and the perception of a footballer. I feel you can get caught up with that perception.
Mhm.
um, and that's been something that I made the mistake on in my life. I think is sometimes I sort of worried about what people would think
Mm.
of me. And I feel like, why should you? At the end of the day, you play sport, but I still, I'm a human.
No, of course, yeah,
I'm,
exactly,
I'm
exactly.
I'm not a robot.
Mm.
I have a family now, and the reality of it is, even though I would want to and would try and keep myself fit for forever, the
Mhm.
reality is you're not going to play football forever.
No, of course, yeah, exactly.
Going to come a date where you're expired, really, your time's
Mhm.
up. So my advice would be to any young footballer is don't take your eyes off what else there is. Obviously
Mhm.
football is the number one, fine, like focus on it,
Mm.
but sometimes look outside the box as well.
No, absolutely. So if you bring it back to kind of Watford
Mm.
and making it through, and kind of progressing through, kind of thing. Who did you kind of grow up with there? Who was in your age group or kind of in your touch in the first team?
Yeah, the one that comes to mind straight away for me is Adrian Mariappa,
Mhm.
who's currently at Watford now.
Mhm.
Um, Again, sort of when I made the transition from School of Excellence to Academy, I joined. He had played against me when I was at Arsenal,
Right.
and he made me feel very welcome. We was both going to schools within Harrow,
Mhm.
um, and I remember around about, I think maybe 15, 16, when my mum sort of moved back to Jamaica. I remember there was a few times where he brought me into training, and he really took me under his wing, if you like, because at Watford he was sort of one of the key players. Um, and he stands out because he was one of the first players that I saw really dedicate himself. And I remember there was one year where it looked like he might get released, and the following pre-season he came back flying.
Mm.
And I remember from that day he just excelled and excelled. And to be fair to him, he stayed at the very top level.
Mm.
So he's one that stands out straight away.
Yeah.
Ashley Young
Mhm.
is another one. I remember he was sort of one to look up to, especially for the position that I play.
Mm-hmm.
I remember they used to say I'm a quick learner, like Ashley Young. So I remember sort of trying to model my game off him a little bit when I was at Watford, and he's another one. He's gone on and had a fantastic career. So I'd say those two at the moment. There's been some others that have sort of maybe played and then fell out of the game, but those two have really gone on to do well.
Fair play. And then obviously you go from Watford and you go to Aldershot, firstly on loan, and then obviously you were there permanently. What are your thoughts on the kind of loan system for yourself personally? Because you hear kind of like varying perspectives. Some have it really good, some don't. But in terms of like molding you into a young man now, how much of an effect did it have on you and your career?
Yeah, massive. At the time, again, many Aldershot fans would have heard me say, and I hope they won't take offense. But at the time, I remember I was told that Aldershot would be taking me on loan. It was more of a telling rather than a choice. And I had no idea who Aldershot was. And it's that's no disrespect to Aldershot, but all I'd ever known was sort of Premier League.
No, of course.
And I knew Championship just because Watford had gone into the Championship. So I didn't even know about League One, League Two, going beyond. I sort of only knew about the top level. So when Aldershot came up, Watford we had got promotion into the Premier League. And during that Championship season, I had made like 10 appearances. I made my debut at 17. So I very much felt like, an up and coming player. And when we got to the Premier League, it was the dream sort of right there in front of my eyes. And I remember before we even started or even kicked a ball in pre-season, I was told I would be going out on loan. So at the time, I was devastated. Didn't know what team, but I was told I need to go out and sort of play men's football.
Who's the manager there at the time?
The manager was A.D. Boothroyd at the time. So I was told I need to go out and sort of man up a little bit, and see if I could use all my tricks and skills against real men and, get out of the comfort zone, if you like, that I was in playing with, my own age group at times in the reserves and so on. And to be honest, Marcus Gale, he actually was at Aldershot at the time, and he was the one who sort of convinced me to just come. And again, he sort of brought me in. And to be honest, it was probably the best thing I did for my career, because going there and realizing, what it's like to actually play, men's football where, people's jobs on the line, people are playing for their families, etc. Fans are purchasing tickets. It's no longer sort of like the reserve where parents are coming and friends. It's now, people that you don't know, strangers, purchasing tickets. Some who are, could be putting their monthly income on coming to watch these games. And I had to grow up fast, really. I remember the first couple games, I was getting kicked about. And I remember thinking to myself, like, if you're gonna survive this, there's two things. You either become stronger and kick them, or you become sharper and jump challenges. And the option for me at that time, I was very like slim and nimble, was you're gonna have to be sharper. And it really helped me. I had a nice little loan spell there at the beginning. I went back to Watford, and initially when I went back, I really thought, I'm gonna go back and get a chance. And unfortunately, it wasn't to be. And I ended up leaving Watford at the very end of that Premier League season, which was again another setback in my career, if you like, but one where, going right back to the beginning at Arsenal, as an Arsenal fan, there wasn't anything worse than being told you're not going to play at this club. So although I was a bit older, I kind of thought to myself, you know what, just because AD Boothwood's told me it's not going to happen here doesn't mean it's not going to happen for me.
Of course, it's just one man's opinion.
Yeah, and from there I sort of set out on my mission to play again, and that kind of what happened is I ended up signing back at Aldershot, which I laugh now because like I said, I didn't know who they were, and the next
And they were
season,
signing there.
next season I was signing there, and obviously appreciate all the help they gave me. So but yeah, so that's kind of what happened there.
And obviously, it's a good stepping stone, wasn't it? Because then obviously you got signed by Crew.
Yeah.
And what was it like up there? I mean, obviously you were under Dario Guardi, right? And they've got a really good reputation in the footballing sense, anyways, in terms of obviously producing good players and nurturing talent and stuff like that. So, I mean, how old were you when you made the move, and what was it like? Obviously, now you're back in the football league and stuff.
So it was crazy, really, because again, so I'd gone to Aldershot, done a season, and initially I had signed at Aldershot on what they call a non-contract. So I wasn't tied to Aldershot, but I was able to play in the league and so on. And I remember halfway through the season, I was on fire.
Yeah.
And they decided to offer me a contract, but it was the same. Basically, it was the same money. My agent at the time, who I had, was a guy called Phil Graham, and he used to work with a lot of Jamaican players and brought a lot of Jamaican players into this country. And at the time, he was funding my wages.
Oh,
at
man.
the time. Okay. Yeah, so basically, I signed at Aldershot under Gary Waddock, who he was friends with, and basically he was funding part of my wages. I think it was something like maybe £200 a week or something.
No way.
At the time, and he was contributing to that. Obviously I was playing non-contract, so they wasn't actually paying me. This Phil Graham guy was contributing to my wages, and halfway through the season they offered me a deal, but the deal was on pretty much the same as the agent was paying me. And he said, look, I'm not going to make you sign this because now you'd be tied to the club, but I'm actually paying your wages. So it was all a bit. Yeah, it was all a bit. You can imagine as a young player, I think I was probably 18, 19, maybe.
Wow,
I think I was like going 19 roundabout now. Obviously, mum and that is in Jamaica and stuff. So it's like to have a random, if you like, offer to pay my wages. It was that almost like, surreal. It was one of those things where I was skeptical. I was thinking, I can't know if he's paying this, what does he want in return, sort of thing.
Yeah, of course.
And basically by the end of the season, they offered me a new deal. Like they wanted to pretty much treble my money. And we had just got promotion. We'd won the cup. I think it was the first time in conference history actually that a team done the double or something like that. And I basically signed a deal going into sort of, it would have been League Two. So to go into League Two with Aldershot. And during my summer, so I was speaking with the agent. He basically said to me, I've had a lot of feedback about you this season. So many clubs have been ringing me, messaging me, but some of the clubs that I like and some of the managers I trust, I feel it will be best for you to go up with Aldershot and keep applying your trade. And at that time, my immediate goal was to get back to Watford level. So Watford were in the Championship. So the fact we were going to League Two, I was only now going to be 2 leagues away. So ready to go into League Two. And then I remember during the summer I was in Jamaica, and he called me, and he said, you may have to come back early from your holiday. So as you can imagine, 19, enjoying my holiday in Jamaica with my family. We were partying and stuff. I think I was in Kingston at the time, partying, you're just living a nice life, really, where
Chilling.
I'm thinking I'm going back into League Two.
Of
Can't
course.
wait.
Yeah.
We're gonna rip up the league next season again. So
Mhm.
just buzzing. And
Yeah.
here Phil was telling me, you need to come back.
Hmm.
So I was like,
What?
why? We've still got like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Like,
What's going on there?
I'm
Yeah.
here until sort of another 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I've been on the phone and basically, uh, there's a deal done. So I was sort of listening. He said there's a deal done, 99.9% done.
Mm.
It's just for you to choose where. So at the time, I was a bit baffled. I didn't know what he was talking about.
Mm.
And he said basically MK Dons and Crew Alexandra have both bid, and
Mm.
they're record bids. They're record bids for
Yeah.
Aldershot. So
Yeah.
Aldershot have accepted the bid.
Mm.
So again, I'm on holiday, preparing to come back, but
Yeah.
Aldershot have already accepted the
And
bid.
then they hadn't told you at this time.
So I haven't really heard. I'm just hearing from the
Crazy.
agent.
Yeah.
Obviously, this wouldn't be out in the public that they've
Mm-hmm.
accepted the bid, but
Mm.
they've accepted the bid because
Yeah.
for them, it's fantastic
That's
money.
great money,
You
isn't
know,
it?
who knows? They may have been thinking he's not that good.
Let's take
Get
what we can
the,
get.
yeah, get the money from him.
Yeah.
Only God knows what they would have been thinking. But for me, it was another sign that football is not plain sailing.
No, of course.
Sometimes from a flick of a switch, you could be doing something different.
Mm-hmm.
And after speaking to the agent, as what you asked at the
Yeah.
beginning,
Mm.
part of the reason to join Crew was the way that they developed their young players and so on. And the thought behind going to Crew was I would develop
Mm.
and learn skills as I was going along. And in the end, I signed at Crew and done 3 good years there,
Mm.
and learned quite a lot about football,
Mm-hmm.
and the way Crew operate. And it's again thankful for it because I moved to Crew, so I moved up north, as a London boy.
Yeah, of course.
Traveling, I
Mm-hmm.
was now by myself. Had
Mm.
to find a place by myself, and to be honest, grateful. Done 3 years. Met my wife in the end up there.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah, she's from up north, so it kind of that was the start to becoming a man,
Mm.
really.
That's what I
Um,
was going to ask. Yeah, as you
yeah,
say, having to fend for yourself.
yeah, that was the real start of becoming a man because at
Mm.
Watford you was in what they call digs, so you always had like a guardian or someone watching over what you was doing. And an even older shot, I was sort of getting help initially from Marcus Gale, but then when I went and signed back there, I was still living in and around London with family,
Mm.
and at my auntie's. But then the move to Crew was now I'm I'm sort of in a different world, if you
That's
like,
crazy. Yeah.
by myself.
Mm.
And I remember it just felt colder up there. I
Yeah.
remember just thinking
It was
like,
says
this,
the weather and that.
yeah, yeah. I remember thinking it felt far.
Yeah.
And I quickly adapted,
Mm.
and I loved it up there, to be honest. I really, really enjoyed it, and I met some really good people up there, and became friends with some people who have helped me in my life ever since.
It's crazy. It's like they say, it's a journey of kind of ups and downs, and obviously, I'm going to touch on you being making your Jamaica debut
Mm,
shortly. But in terms of like, obviously, from where you've come from, you've risen, so you've fallen down the leagues, you come back
mm,
up now.
mm.
So you're a Crew. What was the story behind that move to Wickham? Then, so you're doing well 3 years there. What was the kind of background behind that one?
Yeah, so again, the link with Wickham was the manager. So again, Gary Waddock, who I had at Aldershot.
Oh, of course.
It
Okay.
was again
Hmm.
a little bit surreal because, like I said, I had left Aldershot
Mm.
speaking to Gary, very much
Mm.
looking forward to coming back, and not just Gary, my teammates. Very much looking forward to coming back in
No, of course.
pre-season,
Mm.
and I never saw them again. So
Crazy.
literally there is some teammates I've never seen again.
Oh, really?
Hey, yeah, there'll be some of the players. If I went through now, I could probably say, yeah, like literally last time I would have seen him would have been whoever the last game was, or which is crazy.
Yeah.
But Gary, I wouldn't say we kept in touch regular, but I knew there was always that respect, and I always liked Gary. I felt, a very good man manager, very good coach. He liked to play football the way I like to play it, of passing, very technical, skillful game. And I very much felt like he never tried to change me. He never tried to talk me out of sort of doing my skills or trying to entertain. He always used to just try and show me how you could do it a bit more effectively, and in the right areas of the pitch. So when the opportunity came up to go to Wycombe, for me it was a no-brainer because I was getting closer back to London.
Of course, yeah. How far is it?
And at the same time, it was with someone I knew. And yeah, so really it was a no-brainer to re-sign with him at Wycombe.
Oh, perfect. So yeah, talk to me about Jamaica. How did you get? What's the kind of background and the story behind your first call up? And let's say, and obviously from there you've had some successes there, haven't you, in the Caribbean Cup and stuff like that. But I mean, how did it kind of begin? You getting your first cap?
Yeah. So again, Jamaica. I committed to Jamaica from the age of 18. I used to always, my vacation was always Jamaica. So anytime off season, I would be in Jamaica. And I remember training with the senior team, just where I basically, I can't remember how it happened, but I got invited to go and sort of watch a training session with the senior team. And I remember around that time, you'd have the likes of Ricardo Gardner, would have been, in the senior team. Ricardo Fuller. There was a few up and coming players around that time as well. And I ended up training with them, and I end up, after the training session, I think it was the coach. His name was Downswell, Coach Downswell. He was basically the under-20s manager at the time. Had seen me playing and basically just inquired, like, who is this guy? Where's he come from? And basically they looked into my background, seeing that I had family in Jamaica and always in Jamaica, but I was playing in England. And basically they invited me to come to like a further training session with the under-20s, and I end up joining and made my debut with the under-20s, and we done a few tournaments with under-20s, and it was a little bit difficult because obviously in England, I'm playing for Watford. We're in such a professional setup, whereas back in Jamaica there was tournaments that were taking place that didn't meet the FIFA, dates and so on. So there were times where Jamaica wanted me to come out and play, but obviously, I'm in season.
Yeah, of course.
And I couldn't really leave because they weren't FIFA dated games. They were sort of just games that Jamaica were putting on to develop the players. But yeah, so I done the 20s, and at the time I was sort of Jamaica's biggest under-20 player. So for anyone watching, I was sort of like the poster boy, if you like, because I was playing in UK in a team that was in the Premier League, although I was on loan. I came from a team that's in the Premier League.
Of course, yeah.
And I remember we were playing some teams like Mexico. I think at the time, Mexico's biggest player was Giovanni Dos Santos.
What a player.
Who was at Barcelona at the time.
Yeah.
And I never forget, we went to Mexico, and I remember we turned up in the coach, and outside our coach, there was literally hundreds of Mexican fans.
Yeah.
And they were all trying to get me to sign something. And to this day, I'd never understood it, because I was thinking like, this is surreal. Like, it's Mexicans. how do you guys know me? And what it was is, I'd been on FIFA game, EA Sports
Oh,
game,
of course. Yeah. Okay.
or
Yeah.
Watford in the Premier League.
Yeah.
So they were all, saw me as this
Mm,
big star
yeah.
in playing in
Crazy.
England, and
Yeah.
I was like, you have Giovanni, like he's with
Yeah.
Ronaldinho, who was one
Yeah.
of
Of
my
course.
idols as
No,
well.
of course. Yeah. It's everyone's
He's with
idol.
Ronaldinho. I'm saying Giovanni, and they're like, no, like English Premier League, Premier
No
League,
way.
and
Crazy.
from that time again, it made me think. You know what? Sometimes you don't actually take in what
Mm-hmm.
you're achieving,
Mm.
and it kind of just made me want more, and
Of course.
that's how I got started with Jamaica. I
Mm.
thought I very much felt to myself, I'm not gonna hang around and see what happens with England. Like
Mm.
I'm Jamaican, like my
Mm.
blood's Jamaican,
Yeah. Of course. Of
and I
course.
wanna go somewhere
Mm.
with this country. And long story short, I went from basically the under 20s to 5 or 6 years where I never represented Jamaica again.
Mm.
Um, and it wasn't until I got back up to championship level with Yeovil,
Mm.
I got called for my first cap.
Yeah.
And again, it was a German manager called
Mm.
Wilfried Schaefer,
Mm.
and he called me up to the squad, and I'll never forget it to this day. It was actually during the off season, so it was one of the first off seasons where I cancelled all my holiday plans
Mm.
to go and play with Jamaica, and that was a dream come true.
Oh, I bet. In terms of like making your debut, like hearing the anthem for the first time,
Yeah.
that must have been such a great feeling.
Yeah, it's a surreal moment. Again, like I said, I was a Jamaican at heart. Like from the age of 3, I was going to Jamaica.
Mm.
And then once my mom moved back there, it just became easier now because now I basically could go home. I had friends, so I was very much into sort of the partying, the nightlife and stuff like that. So it was just fantastic honor to be there and know that this is kind of for my mom. I'm playing and my family out in Jamaica. It was massive.
Fair play. I'm going to fast forward a bit now to your time. Obviously, you moved down to Devon.
Hmm.
You play for both Devon clubs, which I'll
Yeah.
come on to in a second. But obviously, you started that you went to Exeter City
Yeah.
from Yeovil, which again, many could
Yeah.
even see that as obviously
Yeah.
close rivals in itself.
Yeah.
How would you evaluate your time at City?
Um. Yeah. No. I enjoyed it. I wouldn't tell any lies. I enjoyed my time. It was a little, again, probably due to my international experiences. I ended up at Exeter probably because of my international career. So what had happened is I had been in a tournament in the off season, just about to have my son. So my wife's just about to give birth. I'm in America playing a tournament with Jamaica. But before I left to play the tournament, I had verbally agreed a deal with Bradford City. Um, Long story short, while I was in Jamaica, the deal kind of was breaking down a little bit because we had got further than expected in the tournament, which now means I'm going to be coming back later than I was supposed to be back.
Of course.
Pre-season starting, and I didn't have a team, which is again created two. We won't go into it now, but I was basically coming back into a pre-season without officially having signed for anyone. Again, long story short, the deal broke down when I got back, but the season was starting the following week.
Oh, wow. Okay, so not as
Yeah.
even.
So basically, Jamaica, we got to the final of the Gold Cup, which again was massive. The first Caribbean team to get that far.
Yeah, of course. Who do you play in the final?
It was Mexico in the final.
Okay. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we lost the final, but I was supposed to, well, not supposed, but they thought we would be knocked out in the group stage, which would have enabled me to be back in time for pre-season, probably to get the deal signed and do my pre-season with Bradford City.
Yeah.
In the end, I got back the last week of the season. I end up actually going to a game with Bradford City. I don't know if some Bradford City supporters will remember, but I was on the bench for their last
Oh
pre-season
man,
game.
okay.
But I hadn't signed the contract.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, part of me was thinking, well, I could kill myself here, because if I play and was to get injured, then I haven't signed a contract. Fortunately, the manager didn't actually use me, so I didn't actually play, but I was on the bench. And like I say, the deal broke down.
Mm-hmm.
Some reasons behind that we won't go into, but
Yeah, of course.
I think Bradford sort of saw the opportunity where, because I hadn't signed for anyone, they sort of could,
Long it
dictate,
out a bit.
dictate what they done in terms of
Mm-hmm.
contract and so on. And in the end, the agent I was with, I very much said to him, like, look, my all my stuff's in Yeovil. I haven't sorted out the apartment that I was in. My son's just being born. Like, what's happening? And in the end, a lot of the other teams that had shown interest, including Wickham. So Gareth Ainsworth, who I'd worked with at Wickham, he had shown interest much earlier on, and I had turned down a lot of teams because I was supposed to be going to Bradford. And when it didn't happen in the end, I was sort of stuck, because I was now a free agent, but a lot of the teams that showed interest had now done their budget.
No, of course. And obviously, season's about
So
to start as well.
exactly. So Exeter now, they had been in touch, and I sort of got back in touch with Exeter, and we sat down. I met Paul Tisdale, and speaking to him, and to be fair to them, they had a thing in place called the 1931 Fund, which is basically where the fans make a contribution to a player each season to their wages.
Yeah.
Fortunately for me, they decided that they was going to make me the fans player.
Oh,
so
brilliant.
the fans contributed to some of my wages. And I ended up signing at Exeter. So again, very grateful for what happened. Enjoyed my 2 years, but I also felt like at times I was held back a little bit from really, expressing myself and going to play. And similar to Crewe, it was a club who was developing younger players. We had the likes of Ollie Watkins now at Brentford.
Yeah.
And it was a club very much known for, developing younger players and moving them on.
Yeah.
And for me, in the end, it just didn't quite match up with my aspirations of getting myself back up and playing as high as possible. And obviously with Jamaica, I very much knew I needed to stay at a level where, they would sort of look and, could look for me in terms of selection.
No, of course.
So, again, second season at Exeter, we reached the playoff final. And it's a bit crazy. Like, in the playoffs, we sort of, the first game, I was actually told I would be starting the first game, but the second game I wouldn't be starting. And
okay.
Tisdale had he was very particular about teams that we play and stuff. And again, he's probably one of the better managers I've had, but he does have his ways.
Yeah, of course.
Things, and he's very tactically aware, and he sometimes will pick the team based on who we're playing.
Yeah.
So it's gone now, so I'm sure he wouldn't mind me saying it. But I was told I'll play the first game in the playoffs, and I wouldn't start the second game. So the first game in the playoffs, we went away to Carlisle, live on Sky.
Yeah.
And we beat Carlisle. In the end, it was 3-2, I think it was, the first game. But I had scored one and set up two.
Yeah.
And had a really good game live on Sky.
So you're thinking, like, I should really be starting. Yeah.
So the next game, like, I'll definitely be starting. You know, all my friends and close family was that, yeah, you've got to play now. Like, and I knew that I wasn't going to play. It's just because this is the way he manages.
Yeah.
And he's very straightforward with it. He'll tell you like, look, this is what we want to do. And I remember the second game at home, I didn't start the game.
Yeah.
And he sort of used me as an impact in the second half. So I still, don't get me wrong, I still got a lot of the game. And he ended up going into extra time, and we got through. I remember we got to the final, and it was like a relief because we'd gone. I think we'd gone 3-0 up or something, 3-1 up in the first game,
I remember,
and they came back, and then in the second game the same thing happened. Like we took the lead, and then they came back, and it went to extra time, and I remember thinking, I'm gonna have to take a penalty here. And I actually.
What was your head like?
I hate penalties in penalty shootouts. If it's in the open play, I'm okay, but I hate shootouts, and I don't know why. I've always just had this thing about shootouts where you don't want to let anyone down.
Oh, of course.
So I've always been brave enough to step up, and especially if asked to step up, I would. But I've also had that thing in the back of my mind of not letting my teammates down and so on.
Of course, yeah.
But I remember in the second game, as we were approaching extra time, I remember thinking, why didn't I start?
Of course.
Why didn't you start me? Because maybe I could have won this game.
Yeah, you don't have to get that far to think about penalties.
And again, don't get me wrong, there might be some people out there say, you was crap anyway, you're rubbish, but I very much believed in myself and felt around that time I was on good form, and I felt that I could make the difference.
Especially if you scored one and set up two,
like
literally a few days before.
And I felt like the right back, and I felt like he was scared. I just felt like I had him. I had a great feeling of I'm gonna win this playoff game for us. In the end, we got through. Jack Stacey is the goal scorer, unbelievable goal. Now at Bournemouth now. Unbelievable goal. We got through, great feeling. So we go into Wembley. Now, of course, I've done quite well, but we're now approaching Wembley. So obviously back in London, all the family and friends there. The only question now is, will I be playing? So we had 4 weeks, I think, before that game. And I just remember thinking to myself, nothing's been achieved yet. Like, I have to train hard. I have to work hard. I have to make it inevitable that Tisdale will pick me on this day.
There's no
there's nothing you can say. I have to play this game. And I remember training hard. I was fit. I was ready. And on the day, I actually got the go ahead. But again, for anyone who's watching, I very much felt like I've got the go ahead, but I'm not gonna have long to make my impact, and that's one of the things as a footballer you don't really want, that feeling of knowing you may not play the whole game. You may come off, and I think on that day I put a little bit of pressure on myself. I wouldn't say I didn't play well, but I just remember thinking a little bit too much about what might happen, rather than thinking, what can I do now to win us this game. And like I said, I didn't play that bad, but literally 55 minutes or something like that, I could see one of the subs warming up, and I was thinking, it's definitely not me. I've done enough. Now the game's in the balance. We're at 1-1. Game's in the balance. It's not going to be me.
You can make yourself a hero as well.
It's not going to be me. I've got enough time to help us win this game. Come 60 minutes, I see it's my number. So I remember thinking to myself, we're at 1-1. But
you're an attacking player. Good form.
Obviously, I'm not. Like I said, I'm not really a penalty taker. Like, I'm not one of them people that, yes, let's have a shootout. I'm gonna take the penalty. So I'm cautious that the game's getting on, but we're still very early. We still got to go to 90 minutes, then extra time. So I'm coming off, and I just remember thinking, I was always taught like leave everything on the pitch,
Mm.
and I remember thinking in myself, I've got so much more to give. But it wasn't a case of I was disappointed that I didn't give it in the first half. I
Mm.
just felt like the games, because of the atmosphere, because of the pressure of the game, I
Mm.
just felt like we're warming into it,
Yeah, of
and
course. Like
now is
anything
where
can
I'm gonna
happen.
start
Like
to, yeah, now is where
yeah.
I'm gonna start to do my thing.
Mm.
Basically, within 10-15 minutes, Blackpool went and scored,
Mm.
and the goal came from the wing I was on, where they've gone down, crossed the ball in, and scored. Um, and from that moment, I felt like so disappointed.
Mm.
I
Mm.
felt like all the dreams, everything we worked for, had just been taken away from me.
Mm. Absolutely.
And that's not being selfish or big headed, but I felt like I really, I really wanted that, and I couldn't have hoped for
Mm.
anything more than a promotion at
Mm.
that time. And it just felt like you know we've wasted it.
No, of
Um,
course. When you get so close,
yeah.
and it's as a fan, that's what you want to hear. Really, at the end of the day, like you want players who are hungry and who want to play and
Mm,
make an impact.
mm,
So it's not as if like you're going the opposite way. It's like no,
yeah.
like I want to play. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But obviously you're not the first, and you
Yeah.
probably won't be the last player to make the move across
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
Argyle. But
Yeah.
like obviously it's happened. What was the story behind that? What was the kind of background?
Yeah, so obviously, again, in that summer, so my contract's expiring.
Mm.
I had the talks with Tisdale, but it was very much let's get the playoffs out of the way.
Mm.
So it wasn't a case of you're definitely staying. It was
Mm.
more like let's get this out of the way,
Mm.
and then we can sort out the contract. And basically, I had, I'm not ashamed to say, with what happened with my son.
Mm.
Now being with me and stuff, I basically said to Exeter, is there something you can do to help me with accommodation?
Mm.
I want to try and get a house down here. I've been
Mm.
down here for a while now.
Yeah, of course.
Something we can look at
Mm.
with accommodation.
Mm.
And I basically, around this time, I had an agent, but I now felt comfortable enough to sort of speak to the club, and
Mm.
I'm one of those players. I think sometimes it's gone against me, but I'm not one to kick up a fuss
Mm.
and scream and shout when I'm not in the team. I've
Mm.
always just felt just work harder.
Mm.
Like you're in control
Mm.
of your own destiny.
Mm.
Like work harder and prove that you deserve to play. But
Mm.
I've never been one to go and knock in and say, why am I not playing? And
Mm.
but again, I had a good relationship with the staff at Exeter. So I
Mm.
simply said, can you help me with accommodation? And I remember speaking to the agent and said to him, can we look at maybe lowering my wages,
Mm.
but helping me with a deposit
Mm.
to get a property?
Mm.
In the end, they wasn't prepared to sort of make that happen,
Mm.
which it was a little bit tough to take because I wasn't asking for the world, and some
Oh, of
some
course, yeah.
fans might say, "Oh, he wanted more money, and that's why he signed at Plymouth."
Mm.
And the reality of it is, without discussing figures, I
Mm.
signed at Plymouth for the exact same wages
Mm.
that I was on.
Mm.
The difference with Plymouth is I was now gonna get a relocation,
Mm.
which would have helped to pay my rent.
Mm.
So
Which is important. Obviously, like I say,
yeah,
got a young family.
yeah.
These are
So
things you need to think about.
yeah, so again, sometimes where in the past I was worried about what people would think, I now said, well, hold on a minute. Like anybody else, if you're at work and you need a little bit of extra help,
Mm.
you're gonna ask your boss.
Oh, of
And
course, yeah, naturally.
it's if you manage to get a promotion in your field of work, you're not gonna look at it and say, no, I'm not gonna take it.
No, of course. You're gonna want to
Naturally,
progress,
you're
isn't it?
gonna want to progress, so
Absolutely.
that's kind of where I was at. It wasn't anything personal with Exeter. I didn't really fall out with anyone. It was simply, their evaluation of me was very much, this is what we can pay. We can look at it when the likes of maybe Ollie Watkins get sold, and so on. But again, I was, I ended up at Exeter because of being told this would happen and not seeing it happen.
Yeah.
So you could probably guess my feelings of hearing, well, let's wait till pre-season to see if somebody else gets sold.
No, yeah,
I very
exactly.
much felt like that's nothing to do with me.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Why
that,
should you have to
yeah,
be that kind
I've got
of
to wait
fall guy?
for somebody else to progress.
Yeah.
But which is, again, if that's your evaluation of me, no problem. But I have a family. I've got to look
It's
after
a
my
priority,
family.
isn't it?
I can't tell my family, oh well, we're waiting to see if this player gets a move.
Yeah, no,
I've got to
exactly.
make a
How'd you
I've
have the
got to make a
conversation?
decision.
Yeah.
And not only that, but my wife has her own aspirations of working. She's never been one to just sit at home and sort of wait for
Sure.
me to get the pay. So I also had to be mindful that, hold on, she has her own dreams and aspirations of doing stuff, but yet she's following me up and down the country, supporting me.
Absolutely.
It's getting to that time now where I have to look at them as well.
Mm-hmm.
So initially, the Exeter deal was put on hold. They basically said, look, go away, think about it. If you think you can do better, then by all means explore. And that kind of hit me a little bit because I felt like we had a better relationship than that. I very much was still hurting from losing at Wembley.
Of course.
And I wanted to continue, and I just felt like they was almost saying, well, it's up to you, go if you want to go, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's just
which,
that's not a great feeling, is it?
yeah, which
Yeah.
led me to basically say to the agent, well, look, I didn't think it would come to this. I didn't see myself leaving, but with my family, I very much want to kind of try and get closer to my family and get some help. Obviously it's our first child. We're quite far from home in terms of London for me,
No, of course.
and up north for her. So I very much felt like I need to get closer to where we could just have a bit more support.
No, of course.
And be a bit more stable. So again, the agent spoke to a number of teams. There was a number of teams linked, and then Plymouth called. So Derek Adams was speaking to the agent. The agent said to me, Plymouth are interested. When I heard Plymouth was interested, the first thing I thought was, I can't go to Plymouth.
Yeah.
Being the guy that I am, I feel like I very much try and make time for people. I feel like I'm a nice person. And I just felt, again, like I said, it's at the end of the day, it's work. But I did feel that, will I be doing something wrong by joining Plymouth? For one. Two, I also felt, will Plymouth accept me? So straight away I was feeling like this had nothing to do with football, but already mentally I was being affected. So I said to the agent, I don't know about that, and basically he said, all right, well, look, Derek wants to speak to you. And I said, yeah, okay, well, I'm happy to take the call. And I spoke to Derek, and I said to him, if I'm honest, Derek, I'm thinking about moving closer up north. And as much as Plymouth's a massive club, I very much admired what they had done that season. I had seen them, played against them, and I knew I kind of knew the club history because I was friends with Yannick Bolasie. So I kind of knew, it's a great club, great fans. And as much as that was advertising to me, I very much felt, I don't know if I should one, go to the rivals. Two, I'm going further away from
That's what I was gonna
what I
say.
see as home.
Yeah, it literally moving further down.
Yeah, I'm going further. And three, it's will I even be accepted? I know you're the manager, but coming to play, and basically I just had the conversation about players who'd done the same. Obviously we had Ruben Reed, who had come the other way to Exeter with me the season before.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember speaking to him, and even what he said, some of the stuff he said to me really made me think, you know what, at the end of the day, it's football. It's what you've always loved. You've got a chance to go and progress at a club that, in my
Massive club
opinion,
as well.
in my opinion, shouldn't be where they were. And he said, you can't let what people think hold you back. And I decided to go. I spoke to the agent and said, all right, you know what, let's do it. And like I say, we signed on the same wages. And I never forget, many people say, oh, you signed there, they probably money. And I remember thinking, you don't know the half of it. And it's not necessarily through me. Exeter, I feel, had the chance to say, you're staying with us. We want you. That didn't happen.
No, of course.
And I decided that I'm going to go and try and achieve what I want to achieve with Plymouth. And in the first season, we got this close to it. And and that was probably my only regret from that first season, is we were this close to getting in the playoffs. And I could see my dreams coming true of playing in the playoffs and getting into the championship. So, obviously the second season didn't go so well for me in terms of injury. I missed half the season. And again, I felt we had a great squad. Unfortunately, it didn't go to plan. It wasn't as smooth as, like I say, football's not always plain sailing.
Of course.
And we end up going down, which again leads me on to why this season it's been, so great, because we've been following a game plan. We've had ups and downs, but I've always had the belief that, we'll make it right, and I'll be part of the team when they do get back, at least to where I signed.
Absolutely. And I guess that's why it's so frustrating that the way the season's kind of stopped where it is, because you're pretty much there. But you've spoken so well about your career. I mean, such a great career, to be honest. How did you find? Where did the idea for your business begin? And how do you kind of find the time to kind of balance it all? And kind of how did you? What club were you at where you kind of started and thought, okay, I want to start this, I want to grow this, I want to take this forward?
Plymouth, really. Again, with such a massive fan base, I've really enjoyed being in Plymouth. Obviously, I moved to Plymouth, and I've made friends, and the community of Plymouth really is it's become like my home. So I've actually, although 2.5-3 years ago I wanted to possibly go back up north, I'm very much settled here now and feel like I'd be happy to stay here now. So
it's a lovely area. It's a great city.
My son goes to school now. My missus is working, so very, very much settled here. But like I said earlier on, my ambitions was always football. And it's not until you probably get that setback that you may look at something else. Fortunately for me, my setback wasn't career ending. So it actually happened when I had the injury. So obviously, it's the first time I had ever had an operation. And I remember I'm having an operation on my thigh, but just the way you go into the clinic and stuff, and I just remember it being like a movie. And I remember sort of just when you have a fear of, again, something that's not happened.
No, of course.
I'm picturing like I could die here. They're gonna put me to sleep. Anything can happen.
It's another situation.
I've never been in this situation. I'm thinking all sorts. What if this goes wrong? What if I can't play again? And all these stuff. And basically, I had the operation. It was successful. And in my rehab, well, before in years I had been using sort of supplements to assist with my nutrition and stuff. And basically my rehab, I was told there and then that that was the end of my season.
Okay.
So they told me personally that the chances of me playing again for the rest of that season was over. Whereas I, in my mind, said it's impossible. Like I can't. Like where the season was going, we wasn't in danger at that stage. But I very much felt like, no, I came to Plymouth to get to the championship. Like that's gonna happen, you know. And I kept saying to myself, this is gonna happen. We had a bad start to the season, but it started that way the previous season. So again, I felt this is fine. This is what happens. Like we have like a new team. Once we get used to each other, we're gonna pick up. And I need to be back for crunch time because I know the difference between the season before. I felt like we were picking up injuries and didn't have a squad strong enough to really get
all the
into
way.
the playoffs. Whereas I felt like this time we're gonna have players who, you know, will be in form at the right time. So my immediate goal was, I'll show you, I'll be back playing. And I went to work on my nutrition, changed a lot of bad habits, really started using the products that I was using. And that's basically where it started, because I started looking into other things other than football. And the other things I was looking at was the body and you know, better nutrition, recovering quicker. And naturally it just led me on to, you know, looking into fitness and health. And that's something now that I do with my Herbalife nutrition. I'd always been using products on and off, but then studying network marketing and stuff like that was stuff I just started working on myself, really, personal development books and audios. And it just led me to network marketing, and one thing led to another. But I started running some small events in the community. Again, not many will know because I had to be careful how I was going about these events, because what I didn't want is, again, because we've got such a great fan base, I was mindful that you would get loads of people turning up at a venue that weren't necessarily interested in fitness and health.
Yeah, they just want to come and see you.
More who's going to be there, you know, whether it's myself or a couple of my teammates.
Yeah, of course.
Was sort of helping me to promote and so on. So, again, started with that slowly. And then since then, that's kind of just developed, I think. I've become the club's fitness ambassador for a project that they've been doing in the EFL. And yeah, I remember with more time not being able to train, it just meant that I was able to go and, you know, visit some of the local schools and basically do stuff off the pitch. And really, it was the first time I'd not been able to do what I wanted to do on the pitch, and I was missing that. I don't know what the word is for it, but I've always played my career trying to entertain. Like I said, Ronaldinho is one of my idols, and he's always smiling. And for me, he always gave you some excitement. So I always felt, like I said at Aldershot, when I realized people are spending money, I very much felt like it's your duty to when people come to the stadium, they need to get off their seat. You need to do something that makes them think, wow, you know. And I've always tried to model my game on that, but do it effectively and to what the team needs. And I lost that sort of excitement of, on a Saturday, I might make someone's day. So, for example, if I scored a winning goal or the team wins, you may have 100 messages of, "Oh, we love you."
Yeah, of course. Yeah. You're everyone's favorite.
Yeah. Obviously, you've got the flip side is when you play bad or, you know, "Oh, you're crap, like get out." You know?
Yeah, of course.
Obviously, you got the flip side, but for me, I've always wanted to give that excitement, and I was missing that. I was no longer able to do that, And I very much felt, what can I do to still help people, still give something back to the community, if you like. And the fitness and health just made sense for me, because it's something I've always been interested in. I've always tried to extend my career. As I said, I hate exposing my age, but you know, I always live and pride myself on any new player that comes, they won't know my age.
Yeah.
Till it's like oldest one in the box or something like that.
Yeah.
But often what will happen is players will be like, wait, is that your age? And I'll be like, nah, that's just that like my government age, but you know, really, my biological age is this. You know?
Yeah, of course. Well, I won't reveal the age on the pod. I'll let the listeners and viewers research that themselves. But when I found out, I was shocked.
Yeah, so you know, I've always prided myself on, you know, don't go with what everyone thinks is the age. So the age of retirement is normally this. I've always said to myself, it's what you want it to be. So if you're fit enough and you prepared to work hard enough, you'll be able to play beyond that. You know, and I've always had that sort of mindset of just improve. Can you get better the older you get? That's what I've always said to myself. And it's about obviously adapting. Naturally, your body's gonna, you know, you're gonna have some problems here and there, and
of course,
that's kind of where the injuries maybe started to take their toll a little bit. But since then I've sort of found out what the problems are, and touch wood, I've been quite good, and I actually feel probably the best I've felt in many years at the moment. And it's just a case of now trying to transfer that onto the pitch and impressing, you know, those that need to be impressed, really.
Of course. So you see with like network marketing, for those who don't know, what is that? What does it entail, and how does that kind of contribute to kind of growth of your particular like business with Herbalife?
Yeah, so it's like an organization, really. So let's say, for example, I'm a personal trainer. I would have 10 clients that I could give my time, really. And with those 10 clients, I could probably give them a certain amount of hours each week. And that would kind of be it. You would have those 10 clients because, of course, you know, everybody's got 24 hours in your day. There's only so much you can do. With network marketing is kind of, if I could train my 10 clients to do what I'm doing, and they can then go and train 10 clients, you know, you're reaching a much bigger organization. And I call it network marketing, but I'm reaching a much bigger audience. And that was, again, massive for me. Is the vision I had is, how many people in the community can I help? And like I said, where I had to be careful of fans turning up, it's very much a case of, if you get 4 or 5 fans that really want to do it, they might now be able to bring in 4 or 5 other serious fans who, you know, eventually we could reach out to. Hopefully the whole of Plymouth would know that, look, when it comes to fitness and nutrition, there is this platform, there is these things happening. And yeah, that's kind of what it entails, really.
Oh, fantastic. And yeah, I remember at the start of the call you mentioned about another brand that you're trying to build up with a friend of yours. What was that about then? Can you give us a little insight into that, and where we can find it?
Yeah, so again, that's kind of something I've been working on, but it's probably been fast tracked because of this pandemic. So
of course, yeah.
Again, it's just sort of, we're in the early stages of it, but I've just co-founded a brand with a friend. Again, not many people know, and I probably won't tell many people just to begin with. But it's a fitness and health brand, and at the moment we're just specializing in fitness and health equipment. So we got some like resistance bands and stuff like that available at the moment. But we have a project that we want to do with it. Again, you know, we've got to take baby steps, really. It's new to me, especially my partner's actually been involved more in business, which has helped me But the idea is, we'll have something available again to communities, people who are interested in fitness and health, and it will be out. It's actually, like I say, stuff is available now, but we are hopefully going to be launching in the next few months.
Fantastic.
And the name of that is Body, which is spelled BODI. So it's a slightly different spelling to Body, but yeah, it's I'll be able to send you the link for the Instagram page and stuff like that.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll leave that at the bottom as well for the video, and I'll share that
again. Again, that will hopefully be launching again in the next few months. Like I said, it's been fast track probably because I've been more at home. Once we're at football, I'm very much 100% focus on football.
Of course.
But like I said at the start, I've now feel like I've developed what can you do in your spare time, because we do get a lot of spare time. And I think sometimes you're not always programmed to make the most of that spare time.
Oh, of course.
And despite all the negative stuff that's going on in the world, I feel quite grateful that this time has allowed me to spend time with my family, and to think outside of the box, like I said. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah. Well, we look forward to seeing more of that. Look forward to seeing more of your Herbalife side of the business grow as well. So as you say, for those who don't know, have you got the website up yet, or is that something that's coming for us to share?
Yeah, so the Instagram is available. There's stuff at the moment that you can purchase from Amazon, but there will be a website. So again, it's fairly new. Obviously the Instagram page can be followed, and I guess for anyone who's interested in it, sort of just watch the space and it will grow. And hopefully there'll be some more products and stuff, and links for where you can get stuff. But like I say, it's for me, football is where my heart's at, and if I can just have these alongside the football, hopefully it would just make me more appealing on and off the field.
No, absolutely. And as you say, you always got to be thinking about tomorrow, haven't you? That is exactly. Key. Listen, Joel, it's been a pleasure speaking to you, man.
No,
really appreciate your time, because you've had such a great career, and listen, it's going to continue for so much longer, of course. Like I said, I'm not going to reveal the age, but I know that like when people see it, they'll be like, oh, okay, this guy's got a long way to go. He's got so much more to give. And obviously for businesses as well, which is obviously the key, like in terms of this podcast as well, wish you all further success in the future, and hopefully you come down to Plymouth and check it out as well.
Yeah, no, definitely, really appreciate it. Like I said, anytime, and this is lovely. I love to see these things, and can probably learn a lot from yourself in terms of stuff like this. So definitely, when we're able to sort of go out in the public, I know it's a little bit confusing to the rules at the moment.
Yeah, no, we won't go too much into that.
Yeah, but once things are up and running, then definitely we should catch up.
Brilliant, man. Fantastic. Thanks for your time, bro. You have a nice day.
Top man.
And take care.
You. All right.
Easy, man.
Take it easy. Cool.